Hello, little Timmies, and today we are going to be talking about the rise of the Cleveland Cavaliers ever since LeBron James signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. So, before we get into that, I just want to say please like and subscribe, because I try to post content 5 out of 7 days of the week, but with how there hasn't been much news lately, I haven't really been posting as much, but once the news gets back up, I will start posting more. So let's get right into it. So after LeBron left, the Cleveland Cavaliers weren't really that good. They were towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and they didn't really have much of a direction because they signed Kevin Love to a 4-year deal, but LeBron left, so they didn't really have much of a direction. But I think they figured out soon enough with how bad they were that they were going to go young. So with that year, they selected Colin Sexton in the draft, and he's ended up being pretty solid for them. But in the beginning, he was like their primary scorer. So then in the next year, they kept getting draft picks. They got Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro. So then they kept acquiring more young talent. And then just last year, in the 2020 to 2021 NBA season, they were involved in a 3-team trade with the Houston Rockets that involved Jarrett Allen, Victor Oladipo, and Caris LeVert. And I think in this trade, the Cavaliers took advantage of the Houston Rockets on how desperate they were to get rid of James Harden, because the Houston Rockets sent James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets, and the Brooklyn Nets sent Caris LeVert to the Indiana Pacers. And it was a 4-team trade. They sent Caris LeVert to the Pacers, and then they sent Jarrett Allen to the Cavaliers. And the Cavaliers did not have to give up really anything. They just were gifted Jarrett Allen. But they just had to involve picks and stuff like that to just please the Brooklyn Nets. And please the Brooklyn Nets and the Houston Rockets. And then the Indiana Pacers ended up having to give up Victor Oladipo. But looking at it now, it's not really that bad, because he was an all-star, and the Rockets are getting an all-star in return for James Harden. But he just went to the Miami Heat, so basically the Rockets have gotten nothing out of that deal. So I think they should have waited and tried to trade him somewhere else. I don't see why trading him to the Brooklyn Nets made any sense. I think they just should have kept James Harden and waited for a better deal, because James Harden had come off of an MVP, was an all-star. I do think that they could have gotten better than what they did. But after they acquired Jarrett Allen, the next season they would go on to draft Evan Mobley in the draft, and they would acquire Lauri Markkanen from the Chicago Bulls. They would pick up Ricky Rubio, and they still had pieces like Kevin Love, and that's really it. Kevin Love was the only person left from that championship run with LeBron. He was the only one who had made it through all of it. But Kevin Love was still in the horrible contract. They've been trying to trade him, but up until now, they still haven't been able to trade him. But he's averaging 14 points a game, and in 21 minutes, that's pretty good. So he's been shooting 40% from 3. So he hasn't been too bad, but with the amount of money that he's making, he's not worth it. But I do think now, since they're actually doing good, they should try to sign back Kevin Love just on like a smaller contract. I think that'd be good for the Cavs. But anyways, into this season, they started off the season really good, and then Darius Garland was like showing how he had evolved because he was statistically the season before the worst player in the NBA that was like qualified like in the amount of minutes that he was getting. But this season, Colin Sexton went out with an injury. He tore a meniscus, so he's going to be out for the whole entire season. Ricky Rubio actually got injured. He was playing really good for them, averaging 13 a game, but he's out for the season. So they ended up going and getting Rajon Rondo from the Lakers. And Darius Garland and Jared Allen have been doing insanely well. Like Darius Garland and Jared Allen, the lob threat is insane with them. I think that they're one of the best young duos in the league. Because Darius Garland is averaging 20 points a game. Jared Allen is averaging 16 points a game, but Darius Garland's also averaging 8 assists plus a steal. So he is playing pretty good. 3.7 turnovers. It's not the best, but when you're playing 35 minutes a game and you're the primary ball handler and you're still young, he's 22, I do think that that's relatively decent. And not to mention, I did not know this until researching for this video, the Cleveland Cavaliers actually have Taco Fall on their team, who has actually started one game, but he's only averaging 1 point. So, yeah, I did not know that Taco was on their team. And they are currently the 3 seed in the East. At the time that I'm making this video, at least, they're the 3 seed. But I really think that this team went under the radar just because of the young guys that they were acquiring. But with Evan Mobley, he's averaging 15 a game, 8 rebounds. I do think that he's the Rookie of the Year so far. I could see where like Cade Cunningham could take that, but I do think that he's been the Rookie of the Year. He's also on a winning team, which most like good rookies aren't, because Evan Mobley was the 3rd overall pick. He got picked up by a team that didn't do good the previous year. They're not very likely to do good that year, but with the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're doing very well. And Isaac Okoro, 9 points a game. He plays good defense, though. Shoots the 3 well. I do think that Isaac Okoro will expand on his game, but I don't really see him being much else than just a above-average role player. I think that's his peak. But with Evan Mobley, I can see him being a number 1 option on a team, especially with him coming out of the gates averaging 15. I could see him fitting into like at his peak, like at his highest, he could be a Joel Embiid. The lowest I could see him is what he is now. I think now will be the lowest, because I could see him turning into a Joel Embiid where he could just be so dominant on both sides of the floor. I could see him being someone like that. And hopefully the Cleveland Cavaliers win enough and keep him happy that he'll stay there for a while. And maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers could see some success without LeBron, which has never happened. He left for Miami and they were horrible. And they've had a rookie in Kyrie Irving who came out of the gates strong, was an all-star, and then he left. So hopefully someone like Darius Garland or Jared Allen doesn't just leave, because Jared Allen, in my eyes, he's an all-star this year, a reserve. So I really hope that the Cleveland Cavaliers can somehow keep their team that they have now together and try to do good with that team. Of course, if their team doesn't do well in the playoffs, they're still young, so they can still grow off of that. But yeah, I do think that the Cleveland Cavaliers can have success with their roster. Of course, they have to build off of it. I've seen them in trade rumors wanting to get some guys like Robert Covington. So I can tell that they're trying to make moves towards being a contender, or at least making the playoffs, which is a good thing. So I do hope that the Cleveland Cavaliers try to make those trades for like other pieces to go along with their players that they have now. But if they do that, I think that this team can be really good. So, yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.